Get started. I'm going to start my clock too so I can keep track of the time a little bit. My name is Gabriel McGovern. I'm from Portland Community College. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Beautiful state. Please come visit us. We are a 2-year institution, but with 90,000 students this year, we are the largest institution of higher education in the state of Oregon. It's huge. We get, I think last time I checked, or last year, we got about 3.5 million unique visitors. Individual visitors visiting the site over the course of a year. So we've got a lot of people to think about. It's a place where a lot of people go who aren't necessarily taking credit classes. They're also community members. And they might interact with a community education class and never come to the school or use any of the actual resources. So accessibility is a really big thing for us. And today we're here to talk about video. Oh, I've got a little clicker. I should be using that. Sweet. So welcome, wake up. The age of video on the internet really is here. I said the same thing last year, but I'm going to be catalogs online. You know, they're really pushing into that market. This is Jeannie Jardin from Boing Boing TV. This is a TV channel, for lack of a better word, that is completely online. All of their content is just online. There is no TV broadcast way of seeing it. You have to go online. And a really good example of the moving trend is that this summer, millions of people tuned to their computers rather than their TVs to watch the Olympics. So we're there. Video really is online. People are watching it. And of course, we need some graphics to really prove that to you. This is from the Universal McCann Group. They've done 3 studies. They call this one Wave 3. So it's the third one that they've done over about 9-month periods over the past about 2 years. And they polled people all over the world, internet users. I think the last one was about 17,000 internet users all over the world, not just in the US. And they asked them, thinking about the internet, which of the following have you ever done? And video, of course I've emphasized it a little bit, went in these 2 years from about 30-something% up to 82%. So 82% of, not us, not necessarily geeks, I'm speaking for myself here, not people who are in the internet, but people who are on the internet are watching videos. And it's actually rising above other things like reading blogs and joining social networks and all of that. But that doesn't mean that the market is really saturated. I think we've got a long way to go. This is some other data. It's kind of a world view, as you can see. And we're in the US, well, I'm in the US, is 16%. So they watch videos online on a daily basis. Now compare that to Brazil, where almost 50% of the people polled who said that they watched online video watch it every single day. I mean, they're not going home and watching their TV, they're watching videos online every single day. So I think over the next months, years, by the time we see another poll come out from the McCann Group, we are going to be pushing more and more towards the daily watching of video online. So, what we're talking about today is interfaces. Video and interfaces. I was looking just over a year ago at putting video online. I was getting a lot of requests. People wanted to put coursework online. People wanted to put marketing stuff online. We also have a lot of news that they want videos. They want those all online. And some people are going out to YouTube, and some people are going other places. But I looked to see if I could build a better option for our institution. Now, I have some requirements when it comes to this video interface. My first one is accessibility. This interface needs to be accessible. And that really means to us the degree to which a system can be used by the population. So, thinking about our population, we have to think of all the different aspects that are going to affect their ability to get the content out of the video. You're going to have a certain percentage of your population that won't be able to hear the sound in a video. Now, maybe they can't hear the sound because they've got a differing level of ability to hear, or maybe they just don't have sound on their computer. I turn off the sound on my computer all the time, especially when I hit a MySpace page and the sound starts up automatically. I mean, I just disconnect the speakers and don't plug them in for a long time. So just because those people can't hear the sound, or they don't want to hear the sound, doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to get the exact same level of content from the video. So we're really talking about captioning the video. That's a big piece of what we're talking about today. The interface also needs to be sustainable. And this is the ability to maintain the process indefinitely. So when I started, I was really looking at a handful of videos to put online, and there were a lot of solutions out there. I could have, built each one separately, but I wanted something where whether I had 1 video or 100 videos or 1,000 videos, I could maintain this. If something needs to be changed, if we need to make an update, I would be able to handle updating all 1,000 videos. And we're actually thinking about how many we have in there. We probably have in the hundreds right now, not quite thousands. And I'll talk about some of the roadblocks of doing even more because people are still asking for video, and the process gets in the way a little bit, but there are ways to solve that. But we're talking about hundreds of videos at this point, and it's just as easy to maintain them once they're up there as it is to maintain a single video. It's also need to be customizable. And this means two things to me. It means that I wanted an interface that really fit with our website, something that didn't have a big YouTube banner on it. When they came to our school, I don't want to see an advertisement for another company somewhere. This needs to fit in, be integrated into the content. More and more we're seeing video not be on its own page or its own player, but be integrated just like we see images online, right in the content. And this also means that as our needs change, we need to be able to change the interface. So we can talk about this a little bit more later. I started with a very, very simple interface. People started requesting full screen. That was something we could add. And all of a sudden, all 1,000 videos, or hundreds of videos that we have, has full screen, all at once. It was something that we could do without going back and touching every single one. So those are my requirements. And I'm going the wrong way. There we go. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is really twofold. We're going to spend a bunch of time looking at the different pieces that are involved, the separate pieces that makes the video, not just a video, but an accessible video online. So we're going to look at those pieces. Then we're going to talk a little bit about creating and the code to create the interface that pulls these all together. Now, because we only have 45 minutes in here and I could talk for hours about this, we're really going to focus hopefully more on the first part than the second. All of the code's online. I have it online. You can download it in a couple different versions, take it, customize it, and run. So we're going to kind of skip over that a little bit. And I guess at this point I should say that the interface that I'm building is built in Flash. And that's really because the adoption rates are so high for Flash. And when you talk about video now, YouTube's using Flash, all these places are using Flash. And it made the most sense for us. So we're going to take a step back. And we're going to look at what a normal Flash, everyday thing that you might see on the web, how it would be captioned. Normally, if you wanted to put captioned video online, you would create the captions, and you would embed them in the video. So you'd actually render the video with the captions in line, which means that they're no longer text. You can't pull that back out by a screen reader or a word processor or anything else. It's actually in the video. You would then take that and compress that, and you would stuff it into an interface, a player, using Flash. And there's a lot of good tools out there that will do that for you really easily if you only have one video, but when you have 100, it gets a little complicated to maintain that. And then you take that whole thing and you bundle it and you throw it into an HTML page. And there's some problems. The largest, to me, of which is that the text is no longer text anymore, which is a big problem. But also the fact that every single time that you have a new video, you've got to go back and start from scratch. One thing embedded in the next, embedded in the next, embedded in the next. And if you want to make a change, you have to go back and touch every single cycle that you did. So a better solution, in my mind, is something that looks like this. We still have the HTML page. We're going to display it online in the page. And we're still going to embed the interface into the HTML page. And that's all right. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have the HTML send variables to the interface that tells it where to go look for all these different pieces. In this case, the video and the text. And so that text remains a text file. And if we need to make a change in the captions, we can go back and update the text, and automatically the video captions will be updated as well. So it remains separate files. And then if you need to create another one, here we go, different web page, using the same interface, pointing to a different set of video and a different set of text. You can keep doing that over and over. That way, if you need to make a change, you go to your interface, you have full screen, all your videos have full screen, all at once. So, to be quite honest, it actually looks a little more like this. That was a very simplified view. And don't get frightened. This looks like a lot of files, but we're talking the internet here. Think of a web page. A web page has text, it is HTML, it's JavaScript, it's got a lot of images, it's got CSS, it's got all these other files you can pull in, and that makes it very, you can do a lot with it. It makes it very customizable, very easy to maintain, because you can alter one piece without altering them all. So here we have the interface, it's embedded in the web page, and we're sending variables through. And what the variables tell the interface is to look for what we're going to call a smile file. And the smile file then points to your different videos. And here I've done 4 different versions of video. The number actually doesn't matter. It's as many as you think meet the needs of your users. We've been toying around with it for a while, and we find 4 different video options really makes the most sense. It also points to the caption file, which is XML. If you don't know XML, don't worry. There's an application that will help you create the captions and then spit out the XML. It's in a DFXP time text format, which is the W3C standard for captions at this point, and we're seeing it adopted more and more and more. We're also going to draw in an image. We're going to put a variable in that says whether there's an image, and then you can also put in any other data you want. In this case, the video player that I built, I just send in the title. That way, on the video player, it has the title. But you can send in any other data you want. So we'll just go through and we'll break these down and look at it. First thing, and fairly important one, is the video itself. We have been using the Flash video coder that comes straight with CS3. I think there might have been one in CS2 as well. It's very simple to use. You drag and drop your APIs, your movies, whatever they are in there, and you can set some things. It says, okay, what kind of codec do I want to use to encode this? And right now, for Flash, there's 2 different codecs that you really have to think about. There's one called Sorensen, and there's one called Onto VP6. And I really have to say Onto VP6 is far superior. The only problem with Onto VP6 is that it is a closed codec. It's proprietary technology, so it kind of limits your options. But if you're using this application, there's a bunch of other ones like this. You just throw the movies in, you set some of the stuff, and you go. So like I said, we usually use 4 options for video. And we're going to have the interface detect what the bandwidth is and deliver the proper video for them. So we usually do a 700K version of the video at 320 by 240, which is half video quality. We could do it larger, but that's just the size of the interface that we decided to create. We do one at 400K and 150, and so that really covers the broadband. So if you have somebody who's on campus with really fast connection, they can see this great, very crystal clear stereo sound movie that's playing. We also do a 56K version that's out there. Now the 56K version, it's going to be really, really compressed. We also do it at half size, 160 by 120. And the reason for that is it saves some bandwidth for your sound. Because we've really found in testing, we got students who are distant students who, again, never come to campus, that are way off the, they're on the grid, but they're way out there, and they can only get a 56K connection. We find to get the content, the best thing to do is to make sure the sound is really good. So even if the video is a little blurry, as long as they have the sound and they've got some captions, they can usually pull the content out. It's the best deal for them. Now, the 56K version, you're only going to see if you're on that connection, so our interface is going to detect, estimate what the bandwidth is and deliver the proper version. And as I said, we just have used 4 because it's worked really well. We find that it meets the needs of our users. But you could do 10 or 20. I actually was talking to Robert Reinhardt. He wrote the Flash Bible about what he does for large production companies. And what they'll do is they'll do 20 or 30 different videos so that whatever your bandwidth is, you get exactly what you need. The other great thing about having an interface that pulls in separate pieces is that if I decide that we need a higher quality movie, let's say internet connections are getting better, or the president wants to see it in his office and we know we have just a straight line, we can create a higher quality one, we can dump it in, and that will be available to everyone as well. There are also lots of other options for encoding the video. At this point, if you're using Flash to do this, I really recommend the Onto VP6 codec. There are some great options coming down the pipe. H.264, which you might know, Apple's codec that they use. You can play it on your desktop, you can play it on your iPod, you can play it wherever you want. That actually works in newer versions of Flash and Flash 9 and above. And I think it's about 80% of the people who have Flash have that version. I'm still waiting. We're talking accessibility. We're talking about serving your population. So I want to wait till it's 98, 99%. So we can make sure that the majority of people can see the stuff without having to do anything else. There we go. Okay, so we've got our movies. And when we're working on the tree that I showed you all that stuff, we've compressed our movies, we've thrown them in there, we've made a little bit for it to compress, we've spit them out on our desktop. Now we need to create the file that's going to tell it which one to grab for which bandwidth. And what they have is a great little file called a smile file. I love the name. It's actually just an XML file. And it's very, very simple to create. If you look at the structure here, pretty much you have a base path, which is just a nice little thing that says, here's where my files are, here's the folder where they are. And so ours are in resources, web, documentation, video. This one is really very deep on the website. Yours probably won't be this deep. And then all you have to do is you specify the source, so we've got a 700K video that's high quality, and if somebody has a 700 kilobit bandwidth or better, serve that video. If they've got less than that, try to serve them the 400. Less, 150. And if all that fails, if they've got something below that, serve them the 56K version. So it's fairly straightforward. It is fairly straightforward. It's fairly simple to put this together. And the great thing about this is that this is what it looks like for progressive download. So if they're downloading and it's has a loading bar, kind of like you see on YouTube right now, and they have to wait for it. If you have a streaming server and you want to stream videos, all you have to do is change your base path to the streaming server, to the RTMP, and it'll work just as well. You can do the exact same thing. So you can be streaming today, progressively downloading tomorrow. You can swap these out without much effort at all. All right. Now for the captions. So we got video, we've got the thing that's going to say which video version we're going to use. Now you need captions. And this one is actually very simple, but it's also very tedious. And when you start getting dozens and dozens of video, you'll find that out. As I know right now, there's no silver bullet for doing captioning for video. There is some speech-to-text software that's out there that'll help you speed it up a little bit, possibly. It's usually really expensive. It also has to learn your voice. So for random videos coming through with random people, it's not that great. We have Dragon Speak, which is one of the versions that are out there. We set it up with an intern for doing some of this captioning, and it does speed up the process, but even knowing her voice and using a single person, it's only about 80% correct. So we still have to go through and check everything over again. So whether you're doing that or not, whether you're typing out a transcript or you're having somebody use a speech-to-text recognition system, once you have that, you need to actually time it out, is that format we were talking about. And this is Magpie. Magpie is a free piece of software from the National Center for Accessible Media, NCAM. It's a Java program. It should work on any computer system. Installing it can be a little tricky sometimes. They have extended instructions on it. But it is free, and it's fairly simple to use. All you do is you can go in there and you create a line of captions that you want. You can put the captions in, you can put the speaker, if you have multiple speakers that are there, and then you can give it a start and end time. Here in this one, you can actually see I only did the start time. Sounds kind of lazy. What's going to happen here is that when it goes to the second line, when it gets 4 seconds, I think it's 4 seconds into it, it's going to switch out the first caption to the second caption and so on. That's just really simple. It makes it a lot faster for entering these. And when I'm doing this, what I actually do is I will create a transcript, or I'll have somebody create a transcript for me, and I will put it into Magpie, and I'll break it up into lines, and just as a convention for what I do, I'm breaking it up into about 100 character lines, which this is about the size of a video player, 320 by 240, and about 80 for the size of the captions. So 100 characters works really well. It's important that you break up captions of things like the end of sentences, pauses, and stuff like that, so it makes sense to the person who's actually watching it. So I break it up, and then I'll do a run-through. I'll just start it, and I hit the exact key, I think it's F6, and every time there's a change in the caption, I'll hit F6. And so once you've got it all laid out, you have to do 1, maybe 2 run-throughs of the actual video to time it out. But it does take a while. You'll find that this is kind of the bottleneck in the whole thing. You actually have to sit there and do a couple run-throughs on the video. I think it's worth it, personally. I'm sure there are also services that will do it for you. It's probably going to cost quite a bit of money. We find that student labor is cheaper and does a really, really good job. So once you do this, you get everything timed up. The video actually plays inside of Magpie, and you can run through it and make sure everything looks good. All you have to do is go ahead and export that as a DXP XML format. And our video interface is going to pull that in and be able to read it and figure out where that timing is. Notice that the cool thing about Magpie is that it doesn't just do DFXP. You can also do captions for QuickTime or RealPlayer or Windows Media if you have any of those. So there are a lot of options that are out there. Okay, and then the last piece that we're going to talk about is really this poster image. Said we were pointing a variable to say where the poster image was. And the reason behind that is that many, many videos start out either black or white. I mean, that's it. The first image fades in or does something else like that. And it's really boring if it starts out black. This is what it would look like if you didn't have the poster image versus that with a poster image on the front. The poster image in our interface plays another role. It's actually a thing that helps us estimate what the bandwidth is. What happens is that the first thing that's downloaded by the interface is this poster image. And it starts a clock, well, you'll see it in the code a little bit, but it starts a clock, figures out how long it takes to download that, and then gets a pretty good estimate of what your bandwidth is, goes to the smile file, says, okay, these people are 200K, so let's serve up the 150 version. Or it says these people are on a 1 meg, let's serve up the highest quality that you can. So it has a second role in there. Okay, well, we actually are doing pretty good on time, so I'll be able to slow down a little bit through the code. Like I said, the interface that we built is in Flash, and when I started this, what I'm going to run through is basically a very basic version that you can take and customize. I also have the code online of the more advanced version that we're using right now in our production, so feel free to take that and see everything else that we've done. But if you ever use Flash as a timeline, what I usually do is I set out some layers and start on the bottom layer and just throw together a background. Pretty plain background that's out there right now. And then we're going to step through the video, the image, and dropping everything else onto the timeline. I'm going to pick this up. All right. So we have the background, and we're going to throw some components on there. These components are built into Flash CS3. You can actually do this in Flash CS2. I don't know why you'd want to at this point, but you could if you want to. The FLV playback captioning, there's a custom module out there that you have to install into CS2 to do this. So I really recommend if you're starting now doing CS3. But what we're going to grab is the FLV playback. That's the actual thing that's going to hold the video once we pull it in. You throw that on the stage. Then you pull an FLV playback captioning component, which is the thing that's going to hold the captions, and you throw that on the stage. And we're also going to throw on the stage a UI loader component, which is a standard piece. We're going to use it to load our image, our poster image. Now, for each one of these, when you throw them on the stage, you also need to remember to name them, because there's some things that we're not going to be able to do just with the components. We're going to have to do a little bit of scripting, and so you're going to need to be able to refer to each of these in order to give them those extra benefits. I have a convention, if you look at my code, I call it, this is the thing that's holding something, so it's the pane. We have the CC pane, and we have the video pane. It's kind of, I don't know, works for me. Then throw on some controls, and there's actually a lot of built-in control options out there. You don't have to build your own. Here I've put in a play pause button, a stop button, which doesn't just pause it, but brings it back to the beginning. I put in a mute or sound video. You can put in a slider for volume if you want. I find that it's usually easier just to adjust the volume on your computer. I've sat down with our students, and I find they either just turn up the volume or turn it down. And if they visited MySpace recently, they have it off anyway, and I have to turn it on. There's also a button for captions to turn the captions on and off, because not everybody might want them on all the time. If you look over here, there is built-in full screen, fast forward. I also threw up a seek bar, which is this line right there, which means you can kind of scrub through the video. It's a long video. You don't have to watch straight through. You can skip any part you want. And a loader bar, which just says, while the video is loading. Now, for each one of these, make sure that you open up the accessibility panel. And the accessibility panel in Flash is unfortunately kind of hidden. So you've got to find it. And when you find it, it allows you to give some extra information to each one of these components that you've put on there. You can give them a name to describe what this element is, so that a screen reader, when it's coming across, the screen reader is actually getting pretty good at reading pieces of Flash. So we can read and find out that you've got a play pause button. And if they want, they can realize that this toggles video between play and pause. It also allows you to put in what they call a shortcut. And in this case, I've used P. So when I first did this, and this is just a little bit of stepping back, I put P for play pause, and I put my thing together, and I get the whole thing working, and it's pulling in the video, and I hit P, and nothing happens. And I start looking through the documentation, looking through the action script, looking through all this different stuff, and I can't find a problem. What I realized is this accessibility panel, when you put the shortcut, that's what it tells the screen reader, the shortcut is P for play and pause, but it doesn't actually cause that behavior. You've got to go in and actually tell it when they hit that key, here's what you do. So there's a little bit of extra stuff you have to do, but it does work really well for communicating with screen readers. Okay, so we're going to talk about the action script, which is the coding that we're going to use, and I believe we're using AS3 for this. there's some things that we can't do directly with the components that are built in. We're going to read those variables using ActionScript. We're going to set up the video and handle some video events. So when it's playing, when it's stopped, all that stuff. We're going to estimate the bandwidth, which is a big part of what we're doing, because we want to serve just what the student or the community member or the faculty needs. And we're going to add that access key behavior, which really should have been added when I opened the accessibility panel. So there's not going to be a test on this. You don't have to take extensive notes. It's all right. It's all online. Here you can see I'm loading some variables, just some strings, and I've named them, the text title, the path to the video, the path to the captions, the path to the image. Those are the pieces that we're going to bring in. And remember that the path to the video is not actually a path to a single video file. In our case, it's a path to the smile file. And then the smile file is going to specify which video to use. Now, you could pass just a video in. If you only had one video, if you decided not to use the smile file, this would still work perfectly fine. So you can switch between smile and video whenever you want. It's very, very nice. Then we're going to decide what to do. I like to put a little logic in there in case the paths are wrong. In this case, if there's not a good path to a video, then you really can't do anything and just shoot an error out there. If there is a path to the video, but there's not a poster image, we're not going to be able to estimate the bandwidth. But that doesn't mean that there should be an error shown to the user. So just go ahead and use, and I think in my case, I just said go ahead and use the lowest quality. If I haven't taken the time to put in multiple quality videos and send you a poster image, just go ahead and use the lowest quality video. But if there are both of those, what we're going to do is we're going to estimate the bandwidth, and then we're going to figure out which video to display. So here's some of the video events. That's very simple for setting up the video. We're just saying here's our captioning pane, and here's where the captions go. Here's our title, which remember I passed that into. Here's where it goes. Here's our video, and here's where it goes. And then we're also going to set up some video event handlers. And so there's just a couple really easy ones here: playing, and stopped. And why these are important, I'm showing this example in the basic video version, is that that poster image needs to go away. When you're playing the video, you don't want the poster image staying over top and hiding the video. But if they hit stop, you don't want to go back to a blank screen. So you want to put the poster image back. So that's all we're doing here. But there's a lot of stuff you can do if you have fast forward. You can change the time code and actually show them where in the video they are. And those are all handled by handlers. And you can set up you can set up event handlers for any of your components, including the captions, the video, any of your buttons. And here's a little tiny piece of code that estimates our bandwidth. And really, all it does, and I kind of hinted to this earlier, our image starts downloading, it sets a timer, waits for it to finish downloading, stops the timer, and it does a little bit of math to break it up and figure out actually what the bandwidth was. Now, this is always going to be a little off. It's not exact. You can't know their exact bandwidth. It's going to change whether they have other things downloading at the time. But it will tell you whether they have broadband or 56K, which is really what I care about. So I don't want the people with broadband getting the 56K version, and I don't want the people with 56K waiting 4 or 5 hours to download this really big video, when all it is a 5-minute video. And here are the access keys. So this is just a small subset of all the possibilities that you can do. It's just a simple switch statement, and it says, okay, if they've hit key 101, which I believe is E for end, go ahead and stop the video. And access keys get a little interesting, and there's not a lot of standards out there. For most of these I've used, there's a British standard on access keys that I also use their standard for websites. But there's not a lot of, I couldn't find anything on the W3C about standards for access keys for video. So sometimes I just have to go out there and look what the convention is on larger sites. I don't think YouTube actually even has many access keys in there, but some of the other video players do. E for end is pretty common. P for play or pause is pretty common. Let's see what else we have. Also, for play or pause, it's spacebar. It's very nice. And here is just an example of, I guess this is rewind, because what it's doing is it's taking our video pane, which is the thing that holds the video, and it's just taking the playhead and shooting it back 5 seconds. So somebody hits, I'm betting that's R for rewind, and it starts to go backwards. And so let me show you some of the stuff that we've actually done after showing you all the little pieces that come out there. All right, so online, that code that I just showed you, which if you noticed, it was really broken up with all the comments and the spaces that were in there. That was about 100 lines of code in ActionScript, which isn't much. And this is what it actually produces. Here you can see this is a poster image. This isn't actually from the video. And just by the way, this is a video from one of our students that he made. It's a really cute video. You can go ahead and play it.
The city of Portland is a bustling metropolis.
And it plays just fine. There's a seek bar in there. The mute works. The captions work, even though can anybody see the problem with the captions? There's no background on it. Yeah, they're just flat out spitting the text in front of it. Now this is actual text, but this really needs to be modified so it has a dark background, or that you don't display the text on top of the video. If you made your video player wider, you could display it somewhere else. I wanted to keep it as compact as possible because my intention is to put it right in pages like images. So let's look at what we actually currently use in production. This looks very, very similar. I put a little bit of customization on there, some rounded corners so it fits in with the rest of our site. I put in the school colors. I've customized the keys just a little bit, not very much at all. It has a little play button, YouTube-like thing that comes up, and you can click there or the play button. Works the same way.
The city of Portland is a bustling metropolis.
Have a backdrop that comes up for the captions.
However, to those
are actually readable.
There is another hidden
We'll turn it down a little bit.
world in our.
And it's got access keys. So if I hit C, the captions open and close. If I hit E, it ends, goes back, and throws up the poster image again. Now, there's some other stuff that I put in. Notice I put in some time here so you can see exactly where you are when you're scrubbing through the video. I've also put in a menu. And the menu's purpose is, for those people who don't interact with video, those people who aren't that percentage that watch video every day, even though we're using some conventions, they need to know how to use your interface. And so, say what the buttons do, and also say what the access keys are. And hidden in here right now, we've just added full screen and another little gem, and I'm testing it out, so I haven't put it in the actual front of the video, in the buttons, but I put the access keys in place. So there's two things. One, let me close this, start playing it. Oh, is it loading again? There we go. I have the sound off. You've got a full screen version of the video. Let me escape. And one of the reasons that I haven't
World in our
actually just put the button on and released it in the general kind of version that we're using is, notice again, my black bar is gone. Because you have to actually go in and say, when this thing's full screen, also put the black bar back. So there's still a little work to do, but it's kind of a nice way to put it out there, do some testing. I can ask some people to use it, off campus or in other places, and they can see what's going on. And since we actually have a bit of time left, I'll show you one of the other things that I put in recently. I realized that the captions themselves are not always the best way to read the content in the video. They're 100 characters at most long. And it's great that they're timed, but what if I just want to grab the text out? Or what if I'm somebody with a screen reader who just wants to read the text? They don't want to have to sit through the video and have it come up. I put on another access key, which what it does is it goes to a URL, which, good thing I hit that now. And I've got a server-side page that's written in Cold Fusion. And what it's doing is it's taking that DXP file, which I can actually show you because it's telling me where it is. That XML file, this is the output that Magpie puts out, which is, you can see all the timing and the breaking up of the captions. It's great, but it's not that readable. So what I've done is I've just created a server-side piece that takes this and throws it back together into sentences that can actually be read very easily. And the great thing about that is that, and this only has one speaker, there's other versions. Here's one from counseling. It's kind of a jokey picture. Here's one with several speakers in it that's put together. And the wonderful thing for me about it is that I kind of have this no-brainer, like, we have the XML sitting there. We should offer it in other formats. We should offer it in a straight text format. And so I went to work, and I put the code into the interface, and I uploaded the interface, and suddenly all of our hundreds of videos have this, all at once. Didn't have to go anywhere else and touch any of the individual videos. It just works everywhere. And the same thing with full screen. You know, if we find a better way to do full screen, and when I add that black bar, it's propagated over all of the videos all at once. So, not necessarily more than I'm encouraging you to take the steps to make accessible video. I'm also encouraging you to take the steps to make an actual interface. Something that you can modify in one place and have it be distributed everywhere that this interface is used. I think we've got a couple minutes left. I'd actually like to talk about, if we have time, some of the next steps. But first, I want to see if there's any questions. Are there any questions? Okay, go ahead.
So you haven't found anything, any other software out there aside
Magpie?
from Dragons?
Oh.
Naturally speaking, that will do speech to text.
There are other ones out there. DragonSpeak is the one that we got, and it was highly recommended, and I still find it very, very limiting. I just saw a demo of the new Premiere from CS4 that's coming out sometime in October, and they promised during this demo that they would actually have speech to text built in automatically. I'll believe it when I see it. But you know, the technology, it's getting closer. It's something that a lot of people are working on for a lot of different reasons, translation and other stuff like that. So I think it's coming at some point, but right now, like I said, even with a trained person through DragonSpeak, and that's the one that we've used the most, the only one I can recommend at all, it's still only about 80% correct. You have to go back in there and you have to change words and do a couple runs over it.
Our problem is that we have a bunch of videos with a bunch of people speaking and no transcription.
Yeah. There is not a program that I know of that will do that well. It'll do it, but it may not do it very well. Yes?
Do you have an idea what your percentage of hits for the 56K versus broadband?
No, I don't, and that's actually something that came up recently. We started talking about that more and more because, did everybody hear that? It's about the 56K versus the broadband versus everything else. I can tell you the stats on what percentage of our users using the website have that, and actually 56K is very, very low. It's less than 5%. I think it's like 3% out of all those users. We still want to make sure they get the content, though. We don't want to just cut them out the loop. We use Google Analytics over the entire site to do a lot of tracking on what our user base is. And in the new Google Analytics code, you can actually put to different events on the page, different JavaScript, and even Flash events. And so one thing that I'd like to do in the near future is upgrade this so that when somebody hits the play button, it logs that. And it tells us which version of the video they're getting. Possibly you could even shoot out the actual bandwidth that we estimated from the image. So that is possible. And it's something we were just talking about not that long ago. Yes, in the back.
Did you estimate the startup cost for the software, like the CS3 and just for the setup to get started, streaming server software?
Well, that's the thing. So for what we're doing now, and we actually have access to a streaming server. Streaming servers are expensive. And if you don't quite know the difference, I'll get back to the core of your question in a second. If you don't quite know the difference, progressive download means it's just an everyday, ordinary file sitting on the server. And when they click play or it gets the page in our version, it starts downloading, and they can watch what has been downloaded to this point. Streaming means that they're sent at a bandwidth, constant. And so they don't have to wait for, in a 2-hour video, for an hour and a half to load. They can skip right to an hour and a half, and then it'll start streaming back. So for very long things, that's really good. We found in practice for short videos, and I really recommend for the public website, keeping videos short. I mean, more than 5 minutes and you're just going to lose people. 10 minutes max. For that, we found progressive download actually works a lot better, and it's just an ordinary file that's downloaded ordinarily. So that's what we thought on that end of it. The startup cost for writing the interface is really just someone who can do some Flash programming, or at least take what I've done and kind of modify it. And the cost of CS3 or CS4, which is coming out soon, which, I don't know, it's expensive, a couple $1,000s, but...
Well, you got a pretty good university cost.
Yes.
It's substantial.
Okay. I'm not in purchasing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, no, so I don't know what the actual cost is, but really we're just talking about the cost of the ordinary everyday software.
Under 500.
Under 500. Under 500. Yes.
If you're doing like a real small implementation and you want to just try streaming, like Adobe has a developer edition, whatever their streaming server is, they can serve like 10 concurrent streams, and they say you can use it in a production environment if you want to.
Yeah, if you're
That Red 5
yeah.
is an open source
Thank
streaming
you.
server.
Red 5 is an open source stream server. Do you know anything else about it?
Nothing.
Okay.
I played with it. It does work, but I don't know how many seeds or anything.
So there is an open source option out there for streaming. I'd recommend, like we're doing this more and more for distance education, and for those people where there is 2 hours of video they need to watch, we're recommending going towards a streaming server. We're using a company called, it used to be called Vital Stream, it's now called Internap. I can't recommend it outright. And that's one of the reasons we've kind of strayed away from it. It just hasn't gone that well. Yes?
Could you just speak quickly to how this process might be modified to use, one of these third-party video sites?
One of the third-party video sites? Well, it won't necessarily play very nicely. So I'm actually going to take that and run a little bit different direction that I wanted to touch on anyway. So one of the things that we're doing here on our site, we're putting up videos from the students, from the faculty, on the public website for promotion. So it would be great if they could also be out there on YouTube. And we're not talking about pulling YouTube into our site and advertising for YouTube, but when somebody's on YouTube and looking around, that they find one of our videos, and it's just a free ad that pulls them back to our site. So right now I'm doing that manually. Every time, well, I should be, almost every time I upload a video on our site, I go to our channel on YouTube and a bunch of other sites, and I upload it there, just so it's easy to find, and I put a URL back to the version that we have on our site with the captions. What I'd like to do, and this is a little bit of where to go next with this, is I would like to set up a fully automated, mostly automated system on our side. I showed you this, and I know my time's almost up, all the way back here, that huge hierarchy here of files that probably scared 1 or 2 of you out of doing this immediately. The video compression can be automated. With OnView VP6, like I said, it was proprietary, and why I brought that up is it's very expensive to do. But Flash 9 and above can do H.264, which there are plenty of server-side compressors that can be set up to automate that are out there that are free. So when the adoption rate gets high enough, what I want to do is set up a server-side program where anybody at the college goes up and they upload their video, just like YouTube. They upload their captions, and we're going to put the onus on them to make those captions. And they can pick a poster image. The compressors usually can go through and pull out poster images just like YouTube can. And all we would do is we would have to authorize it for being published so that we're looking at copyright and all that other stuff. But this side, the compression, the smile file, and putting it all together in the HTML can be automated. And it can be automated fairly simply. We're looking at XML and we're looking at very simple components here. So that's where I'd like to go with it next. I don't know if that really answered your question. They don't play together very nicely at this point. I'm doing it by hand. If we automated it, one thing I'd like to put in there is using YouTube's API and these other video sites' API, that when a video gets posted, so somebody posts a video up here, it also gets sent out to those sites automatically. Yes?
Do you know how much bandwidth does it take up on your service, and does it freak your IT people out?
No, surprisingly. And one of the great things is that because we're looking at progressive downloads, it's we're looking at normal files going back and forth. We're not talking about guaranteeing streaming at 1 meg versions. That would freak my IT people out a little bit. We needed to guarantee that all of our distance students could see the 1 meg versions. And that's why in our case, I recommended going off-site to a streaming service that has multiple points all around the country that can be accessed, and it won't mess up our bandwidth. For the progressive download, it's just like any other file, and we need to have the bandwidth to cover it. And my time's up. Feel free to talk to me more about this at any time. And I also have, I will just escape and go down there. Oh, actually, I'll just go to my website. Here we go. I've put up already a page with the presentation slides, the handout, but more importantly, the code and all the pieces for the version 1, which is the piece that we went over today. Version 1.1, which is what we were using in production 2 weeks ago, and the final one with the full screen and the transcript, version 1.2. Feel free to go in there, modify it, make it better, and send it back to me.
And when you do 1.3, you add that?
Yes, I will just keep adding them there. I just ask if you make improvements because I'm not a guru when it comes to all this stuff. I'm just, doing what needs to be done to get video out there. So when you make improvements, let me know. All right, thank you.
UAD5, understanding.
5.
Turn in your evaluation.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and that's one thing I didn't mention earlier about there.